Question 1. Based on the information about a company's OSA environment, Sarah, a cloud architect, wants to restrict access to certain resources only from their corporate office IP range while allowing developers to access those resources remotely with MFA. Which OSA feature should Sarah configure to meet this requirement effectively? A. UCM policies with dynamic groups to allow access only from specific IP addresses. B. Configure network sources with IP address ranges and combine with MFA for user authentication. C. Apply tag-based access control policies on resources accessible only through VPN. D. Use compartments and restrict policies to users in the corporate network only. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Configuring network sources allows restriction of access to OSI resources based on the originating IP address range, effectively limiting access from the corporate office. Combining network sources with MFA strengthens security by ensuring users authenticate with additional verification remotely. IAM policies and dynamic groups control resource access by user group identity, not IP, so option is insufficient alone. Tag-based access controls, option C, focus on resource attributes, not network location, and compartments, option D, provide logical isolation but do not restrict network-level access. Thus, network sources with IP filtering combined with MFA best meet Sarah's scenario. Question 2. In the context of OSI compartments, Michael is tasked with designing a structure for a multinational company. He needs to ensure that resource isolation is enforced, but with minimal policy complexity. Which design principle should Michael follow to achieve this goal? A. Create many small compartments per project and assign broad IAM policies to groups. B. Use a shallow compartment hierarchy with clearly defined responsibilities for each compartment. C. Organize compartments by user roles and assign policies based on user groups rather than compartments. D. Avoid compartments and rely solely on tags to manage resource isolation and access control. Answer. Correct answer. D. Explanation. Tags can provide flexible, scalable resource grouping across compartments, simplifying access control without deep compartment hierarchies. Relying solely on compartments can increase complexity and result in overly complicated IAM policies, especially in large organizations. Designing shallow compartment hierarchies with defined responsibilities, option B, is good but does not minimize policy complexity, such as tag-based control. Organizing by user roles, option C, misuses compartments which are for resource grouping, option that can cause unnecessary compartment proliferation and policy management issues. Question 3. When evaluating the merits of dynamic groups in OSI IAM, Jane argues they provide superior security compared to traditional groups. Which rationale best supports her claim? A. Dynamic groups are based on user identities and enable more granular role assignments than traditional groups. B. Dynamic groups allow policies to be applied to compute resources based on attributes, reducing static identity management. C. Dynamic groups enforce multi-factor authentication automatically, increasing security. D. Dynamic groups allow users to switch roles dynamically without re-authentication. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. The claim is incorrect. Dynamic groups are not related to enforcing MFA or user authentication methods directly. Instead, dynamic groups let you write policies that apply to resources such as compute instances based on attributes, e.g., instance tags, not static user identities. This enables secure, automated resource management without managing individual user identities, which is not the same as enforcing MFA. Option C is incorrect. Traditional groups manage users. The dynamic groups are used mainly for resource-based policy applications, so option B is the best rationale. Options and D misunderstand dynamic groups. Question 4. Given the circumstances of an application hosted on OSI needing to scale automatically during traffic spikes, what configuration should Robert implement to ensure compute resources adjust appropriately without manual intervention? A. Enable auto-scaling on the compute instance pool using CPU utilization metrics and define minimum and maximum instance counts. B. Create a script that manually adds or removes compute instances based on real-time monitoring alerts. C. Use load balancers to distribute traffic evenly without modifying the number of compute instances. D. Configure compute instance shapes with higher baseline capacity to handle peak without scaling. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Auto-scaling configured on instance pools dynamically adjusts the number of instances based on performance metrics like CPU utilization, ensuring efficient resource usage and cost optimization. Manual scripts option B introduce operational overhead and latency, undermining real-time responsiveness. Load balancers option C distribute traffic but do not scale resources themselves, selecting instance shapes option D risks over-provisioning and is less flexible than auto-scaling. Therefore, enabling auto-scaling with metrics and bounds is the recommended best practice. Question 5. From the perspective of OSI networking, when designing a CE that must securely connect an on-premises data center and OSI, which method provides the most reliable and low-latency connection? A. Use site-to-site VPN with the IPsec tunnels for secure encrypted connectivity. B. Implement local VCN peering to enable communication between on-premises and OSI. C. Configure Fast Connect for private, high bandwidth, low latency dedicated connectivity. D. Use an internet gateway with public IP routing to establish connectivity. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Fast Connect offers a private, dedicated, and high bandwidth connection between on-premises data centers and OSI, providing lower latency and better reliability than VPN. As a site-to-site VPN, option A is encrypted but relies on the public internet, which is less reliable and higher latency. Local VCN peering, option B, connects OECNS within the same region, not on-premises networks. Using an internet gateway, option D, exposes traffic to the public internet, which is less secure and less reliable for sensitive data flows. Question 6. Istali, a cloud engineer, is configuring OSI EM policies. He wants to ensure that only users with a specific tag on their resources can perform management actions on those resources. What approach best aligns with OSI best practices? A. Use tag-based access control policies that include conditions on specific tag namespaces and keys. B. Apply EM policies restricting users based on compartments containing tagged resources. C. Assign users to groups corresponding to the tags on their resources and write policies based on those groups. D. Use network sources to restrict access based on the network location of tagged resources. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. OSI allows creating EM policies that include conditions on resource tags controlling access to resources only if they have specific tag namespaces and keys. This provides fine-grained, attribute-based access control, aligning with best practices for managing permissions dynamically. Restricting access by compartments, option B, does not inherently consider tags. Group assignments based on tags, option C, is supported as tags apply to resources, not users. Network sources, option D, control IP-based access and do not filter based on resource tags. Question 7. Considering the evidence from a security audit, Olivia realizes that some compute instances lack proper patching, increasing vulnerability risk. Which OSI service should she enable to automate operating system updates across all instances in a managed and secure way? A. Enable OSI OS management to orchestrate patching, updates, and compliance monitoring. B. Use compute instance metadata to push update scripts manually. C. Schedule cron jobs on individual instances for patch downloads. D. Create custom images with the latest patches and redeploy instances. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. While cron jobs option C can automate patching, they are unmanaged, error-prone, and lack centralized control, making them unsuitable for enterprise security. OSI OS management, option A, is the recommended service to automate patching, compliance, and update orchestration across compute instances, ensuring consistency and auditability. Instance metadata, option B, helps configure but does not automate updates. Creating custom images, option D, helps deploy patched instances but does not address ongoing updates post-deployment. Question 8. During the process of designing a high-availability architecture in OSI, Anil must select the best strategy to distribute user traffic globally with low latency and fault tolerance. Which OSI service should he leverage? A. Use OSI traffic management steering policies with latency-based routing. B. Deploy multiple load balancers within a single availability domain. C. Use network security groups to control traffic flow between regions. D. Rely on internet gateway routing with DNS round-robin records. Answer. Correct answer. D. Explanation. Using OSI traffic management with latency-based steering. Option A provides global traffic distribution optimized for low latency and failover. Load balancers. Option B. Improved distribution within an app but not globally. Network security groups. Option C. Control security but don't handle traffic distribution. Internet gateway with DNS round robin. Option D is simple but lacks advanced failover and latency awareness, making it less effective for global HA. Therefore, traffic management steering policies are best practice for global traffic distribution. Question 9. When considering the OSI shared security model, Priya must understand her responsibilities as a customer. Which statement best captures her role in this model? A. Priya is responsible for securing OSI's physical infrastructure and hypervisor layers. B. Priya manages data encryption, network security, and access control for her workloads. C. OSI fully manages all security aspects, including application-level security for customer workloads. D. Priya must configure OSI's hardware firewall and physical data center access controls. Answer. When considering the OSI shared security model, Priya must understand her responsibilities as a customer. Which statement best captures her role in this model? A. Priya is responsible for securing OSI's physical infrastructure and hypervisor layers. B. Priya manages data encryption, network security, and access control for her workloads. C. OSI fully manages all security aspects, including application-level security for customer workloads. D. Priya must configure OSI's hardware firewall and physical data center access controls. Question 10. A company wants to ensure their backup strategy minimizes data loss in a disaster recovery scenario while optimizing costs. Which best practice should EMA apply for block volume backups in OSI? A. Schedule frequent full backups to reduce recovery time objectives. B. Use incremental backups after an initial full backup to optimize storage and cost. C. Rely solely on manual backups performed by system administrators. D. Store backups in the same availability domain as the primary data for speed. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Frequent full backups ensure a complete up-to-date snapshot, minimizing recovery time, though this increases storage costs. However, OSI supports incremental backups which capture only changed blocks after the initial full backup, optimizing storage and costs, making incremental backups the best balance. Thus, option B is more accurate. Manual backups, option C, are error-prone and inconsistent. Storing backups, same ad. Option D risks loss if the ad fails. A cross-ad or region replication is preferred, so the best practice is to use incremental backups after the full backup to optimize cost and recovery. Question 11. Given the circumstances where Ravi manages multiple OSI accounts across regions, he wants to centralize user access management without duplicating identities. Which OSI feature should Ravi implement to efficiently manage users and groups across these accounts? A. Use identity domains to centralize user and group management across OSI tenants. B. Create separate IAM users in each compartment and replicate policies. C. Use dynamic groups and assign users to groups in each region manually. D. Implement tag-based policies for user access control across regions. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Identity domains provide centralized management of users in groups across multiple OSI tenants or regions, enabling single sign-on and simplified identity lifecycle management. Creating separate IAM users per compartment, option B, leads to duplication and management overhead. Dynamic groups, option C, are used for resources, not user identity centralization. Tag-based policies, option control access to resources, not user management. Therefore, identity domains are the optimal choice for centralized identity management. Question 12. From a practical standpoint, Julia must design a CS subnet architecture for a multi-tier application requiring external client access to the web tier but restricted access to the database tier. What is the best subnet strategy she should follow? A. Place the web servers in public subnets and database servers in private subnets without internet access. B. Deploy both web and database servers in the same private subnet and restrict access via security lists. C. Use only public subnets with security lists to block direct database access from the internet. D. Place both tiers in public subnets and rely on network security groups for segregation. Answer. Correct answer, B. Explanation. The best practice is to place web servers in public subnets, option A, so they can serve external requests, while databases reside in private subnets without direct internet exposure, enhancing security. However, option B, placing both tiers in the same private subnet, is suboptimal because public access to the web tier would be blocked. Options C and D, relying only on security-less ADS with both tiers public, risk increased attack surfaces. Therefore, option aligns with secure multi-tier architecture by segregating tiers via subnet placement. Question 13. In the context of OSI policy management, CARLOS must ensure least privilege principles are enforced. Which policy approach most effectively supports this security principle? A. Assign broad permissions to all users and restrict using network sources. B. Create specific, narrow policies granting only required permissions to defined groups. C. Use wildcard policies to simplify administration and reduce errors. D. Apply policies only at the root compartment to cover all resources. Answer. Correct answer, B. Explanation. The least privilege principle mandates granting only the minimum necessary permissions. Creating specific, narrow policies for defined groups, option B, supports this by limiting access to what is essential. Broad permissions, option A, violate least privilege. Wildcard policies, option C, are risky as they over-provision access. Applying policies only at the root compartment, option D, can unintentionally grant access across resources. Thus, granular policies aligned to roles and compartments are best practice. Question 14. When analyzing OSI load balancer options, Samantha needs to choose between Layer 4 Network Load Balancer and Layer 7 Load Balancer for a highly available web application. What is a key advantage of using a Layer 7 load balancer? A. It supports TCP traffic routing without inspecting payloads. B. It can perform tier-based URL paths and headers. C. It requires less configuration and management overhead. D. It automatically scales without manual configuration. Answer. Correct answer, C. Explanation. Layer 7 load balancers operate at the application layer, enabling advanced routing based on HTTP attributes such as URLs, cookies, and headers. This makes option B an advantage, but it's not the key one stated in this question. Layer 4 load balancers handle TCP traffic without inspecting payloads, option A. Layer 7 load balancers generally require more configuration than Layer 4, so C. Less overhead is incorrect. Both types support scaling, option D, but the key advantage of Layer 7 is intelligent application-aware routing, so option B is the correct choice. Question 15. With respect to OSI block volume backups, Tina is designing a backup schedule that balances cost and data protection. She wonders how incremental backups function. Which statement best explains incremental backups? A. Incremental backups copy all data in the volume every time a backup runs. B. Incremental backups only copy blocks that have changed since the last backup, saving storage space. C. Incremental backups require manual intervention to identify changed data. D. Incremental backups are full backups compressed to save space. Answer. Correct answer, D. Explanation. Incremental backups in OSI capture only changed blocks since the last backup, optimizing storage and reducing backup times. This makes option B correct. Option A describes full backups, which copy all data each time. Incremental backups are automated, so option C is false. Option D is inaccurate because incremental backups are not compressed full backups but partial snapshots of changes. Understanding incremental backups is critical to designing efficient backup strategies. Question 16. Mr. Adams is troubleshooting an OSI compute instance that fails to boot correctly. What OSI feature should he utilize first to diagnose boot-related issues without needing network access? A. Console connection to the instance for direct serial access. B. Attach a secondary boot volume and analyze logs remotely. C. Use OSI audit service to check user actions. D. Review VCN flow logs for traffic patterns during boot. Answer. Correct answer, B. Explanation. Console connections provide direct serial access for troubleshooting boot issues. Option A, making it the best first step without network dependency. Attaching a secondary boot volume. Option B is more complex and used when console access isn't possible or for deeper offline analysis. OSI Audit Service. Option C tracks actions but does not help with instance boot problems. vSend flow logs. Option D monitor network traffic irrelevant to boot diagnostics. Thus, the console connection is the most direct diagnostic tool. Question 17. During a security review, Helena needs to restrict access to OSI resources based on user identity and their group memberships dynamically, which OSI IAM construct enables policy enforcement on resources used by compute instances rather than specific users. A. Traditional IAM groups. B. Dynamic groups that match compute instances by attributes. C. Compartments for resource isolation. D. Network sources restricting access by IP addresses. Answer. Correct answer, C. Explanation. Dynamic groups. Option B are designed to group compute instances or other resources by attributes, allowing policies to be applied to those resources rather than users. Traditional IAM groups. Option A group users, not compute resources. Compartments. Option C isolate resources logically but don't dynamically group instances. Network sources. Option D control access by network IPs, not identity. Since the question asks about policies on resources used by compute instances dynamically, dynamic groups is the correct answer. Question 18. As demonstrated by OSI best practices, which strategy most effectively secures an autonomous database to prevent unauthorized data access? A. UCM policies to restrict database access by user identity. B. Rely on network security groups and subnet placement only. C. Enable data safe for monitoring, masking, and auditing database activities. D. Use default database accounts and passwords with restricted network access. Answer. Correct answer, D. Explanation. Using default accounts and passwords, even with restricted network access, is insecure and not recommended. Option D is incorrect. IAM policies. Option A control access to OSI resources, but not directly to autonomous database users. Database users are managed separately. Network security groups and subnet placement. Option B help restrict network access, but are insufficient alone. DataSafe. Option C is a comprehensive security service for auditing, masking, and monitoring database activity, effectively enhancing autonomous database security. And best answer. Question 19. Considering the evidence that cost overruns often occur due to unused resources, what OSI feature should Ethan implement to identify idle compute resources and reduce unnecessary expenses? A. Enable OSI OS management for automatic patching. B. Use OSI monitoring and alarms to track instance CPU and network utilization. C. Configure auto-scaling to add instances only during demand spikes. D. Use OSI object storage lifecycle policies to archive unused data. Answer. Correct answer, A. Explanation. OS management. Option A automates OS updates but doesn't identify idle resources or reduce costs. Monitoring and alarms. Option B track instance metrics such as CPU and network utilization, which can highlight idle resources, enabling cost savings through informed shutdown or scaling decisions. Auto-scaling. Option C adjusts capacity but does not identify existing idle resources. Object storage lifecycle policies. Option D manage data archiving, not compute costs. Thus, monitoring and alarms best help identify and manage idle compute costs. Question 20. Throughout the course of an OSI migration project, Linda wants to establish a secure connection from her on-premises environment to OSI that supports dynamic routing of multiple vCNS. Which option should she choose? A. Configure site-to-site VPN with static routing. B. Use Fast Connect with dynamic routing gateway ERG attachment. C. Set up local VCN peering between on-premises and OSI. D. Rely on Internet Gateway for direct internet-based connectivity. Answer. Correct answer, C. Explanation. Fast Connect with ORG. Option B supports private, high bandwidth, and dynamic routing of multi-VCNS, making it the ideal choice for secure, scalable on-premises to OSI connectivity. Site-to-site VPN. Option A generally supports static routing and has bandwidth latency limitations. Local VCN peering. Option C. Only connects VCNs within OSI and cannot bridge on environments. Internet gateway. Option D. Exposes traffic to the public internet insecure and not suitable for private connectivity. Therefore, Fast Connect with RG is the correct solution. Question 21. While examining OSI network security, PRIA is asked to design a solution that restricts traffic to compute instances based on both IP addresses and instance groups without managing individual security lists. Which OSI feature should she implement? A. Use network security groups NADS with rules specifying IP address ranges and associated instance groups. B. Configure security lists per subnet with IP address restrictions and apply them to compute instances. C. Deploy Web Application Firewall (WAF) to filter inbound IP traffic to compute instances. D. Apply compartment-level IAM policies controlling network traffic by IP address. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Network security groups SADS allow fine-grained, flexible network traffic control by grouping compute instances logically and applying security rules based on IP ranges without modifying subnet-level security lists. Security lists option B operate at the subnet level and are less flexible, making managing dynamic workloads harder. WAF option C print T to T traffic specifically general network access. IAM policies option D govern user access, not network traffic. ADS provides scalable, dynamic network security control fitting PRIA's requirements. Question 22. In what ways can a cloud architect ensure that OSI IAM policies follow the principle of separation of duties in a multi-team environment managing shared resources? Assign all permissions to a single administrator group to streamline management. B. Split permissions among distinct groups with clearly defined roles and limited overlap. C. Use compartments instead of groups to segregate duties among users. D. Rely solely on dynamic groups to enforce separation of duties. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Separation of duties requires dividing responsibilities to reduce risks of error or fraud. Splitting permissions across distinct user groups with precise roles and minimal overlaps ensures users have only the access necessary for their functions, aligning with security best practices. Assigning all permissions to one group option A violates this principle. Compartments option C isolate resources but don't control user roles or duties. Dynamic groups option D are resource-based, not user role-based. Thus, option B is the most effective approach. Question 23. Considering the evidence, Aaron needs to provide access to OSI object storage for external third-party applications while maintaining security. Which option should he choose? A. Create IAM policies granting third parties full access to object storage buckets. B. Use pre-authenticated requests (PARs) with scope permissions to share specific objects or buckets. C. Assign third-party users to dynamic groups with object storage access policies. D. Use network sources to allow access only from third-party IP addresses. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Dynamic groups option C apply primarily to compute resources, not external users, so this is not the best choice for third-party access. IAM policies granting full access option A are overly permissive and risky. Network sources option D restrict IP ranges but don't provide fine-grained, authenticated access control for external users. Pre-authenticated requests option B are specifically designed to securely share objects with external users by generating time-limited ELs with control permissions, making them the best option for Aaron's needs. Question 24. From the perspective of OSI governance, Emma must establish cost management controls to avoid unexpected spending. Which OSI feature best enables her to monitor and control costs effectively? A. Enable resource tagging combined with cost tracking dashboards and budgets. B. Use compartments exclusively to separate billing across projects. C. Apply IAM policies restricting resource creation to only administrators. D. Configure network security groups to restrict expensive resource usage. Answer. Correct answer. D. Explanation. Network security groups control network traffic but do not relate to cost monitoring or control, so option D is incorrect. Compartments option B help logically separate resources but do not provide Cost tracking or alerting. In policies, option C can restrict resource creation but don't track spending. Using resource tagging, option A, combined with cost dashboards and budget alerts enables granular cost monitoring and proactive budget control, making it the best feature for effective governance. Question 25. When evaluating the merits of autonomous database backup strategies, Mark wants to ensure minimal downtime and data loss. Which backup feature in OSI best supports this goal? A. Manual full backup scheduled during off-peak hours. B. Continuous incremental backups enabling point-in-time recovery. C. Exporting database data to object storage manually. D. Relying on snapshots only without backup replication. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Continuous incremental backups enable capturing changes frequently, allowing point-in-time recovery and minimizing data loss during failover or recovery, thus supporting minimal downtime. Manual backups, option A, are prone to errors and risk data loss between backups. Exporting data manually, option C, is cumbersome and less reliable. Snapshots, option D, provide quick recovery but without replica, may be vulnerable to regional failures. Therefore, continuous incremental backups offer the most robust protection. Question 26. During a migration, Jason faces connectivity issues between his on-premises network and our ECN. What troubleshooting steps should he take first to verify VPN tunnel status? A. Review VCN flow logs for dropped packets. B. Use our EPN monitoring dashboard to check tunnel health. C. Check subnet route tables for correct CIDR block routes. D. Restart the compute instances connected via EPN. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. EPN monitoring dashboard provides real-time tunnel health and status, making it the most direct way to check VPN connectivity. VCN flow logs, option A, monitor network traffic but don't specifically indicate VPN tunnel state. Subnet route tables, option C, are important, but verifying VPN health first narrows down the root cause. Restarting compute instances, option D, address VPN tunnel status and is less effective initially. Thus, checking the VPN monitoring dashboard is the best first step. Question 27. When faced with designing a hybrid cloud architecture that integrates OSI with on-premises systems, which principle should SOFIA prioritize to ensure low latency and high availability? A. Use only public internet connectivity with VPN for simplicity. B. Deploy fast connect circuits with redundant connections and local failover. C. Rely on compartment-level isolation to segregate cloud and on-premises resources. D. Use dynamic groups to group on-premises and OSI compute resources. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. While VPN over the internet, option A, provides simplicity, it lacks consistent low latency and high availability. Fast connect with redundant connections and failover, option B, is the recommended practice for enterprise-grade hybrid cloud, providing private, reliable connectivity. Compartment isolation, option C, is resource grouping, not network design. Dynamic groups, option D, apply to OSI resources and do not link on-premises infrastructure. Therefore, prioritizing fast connect with redundancy is essential for robust hybrid architecture. Question 20. Considering the underlying principle of EM in OSI, what distinguishes authentication from authorization? A. Authentication determines what actions a user can perform. Authorization confirms user identity. B. Authorization verifies the user's identity. Authentication assigns permissions. C. Authentication confirms who the user is. Authorization determines the user's permissions. D. Both authentication and authorization are the same in OSI. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Authentication is the process of verifying the identity of a user or system, who they are. Authorization defines what actions or access the authenticated user is permitted to perform. Option C correctly distinguishes these concepts. Options and B confuse the two terms. Option D is incorrect because authentication and authorization are distinct functions within EM, working together but addressing different security concerns. Question 29. As illustrated by OSI best practices, which strategy optimizes cross-region disaster recovery for block volumes while minimizing latency and cost? A. Use cross-region volume replication with asynchronous backups. B. Schedule manual backups in each region independently. C. Use only snapshots within the same availability domain. D. Clone block volumes in the primary region for redundancy. Answer. Correct answer A. Explanation. Cross-region volume replication asynchronously copies block volumes to another region, ensuring data availability in case of regional failure, balancing latency and cost effectively. Manual backups option B are error-prone and not automated. Snapshots in the same and option C do not protect against regional failures. Cloning volumes option D within the same region does not provide cross-region recovery, hence cross-region replication aligns with best practices for Okta. Question 30. A security analyst, Nina, is tasked with improving auditability of OSI resource changes across multiple compartments. Which OSI service should she leverage to capture comprehensive activity logs? A. OSI audit service that records API ALs and resource modifications. B. OSI OS management to log system-level changes on compute instances. C. Network security groups to log traffic flows between compartments. D. OSI monitoring to track performance metrics of resources. Answer. Correct answer D. Explanation. OSI Audit Service option A captures all API calls and resource changes, providing detailed activity logs, making it ideal for auditability. OS Management option B focuses on OS patching and updates, not OSI resource changes. Network Security Groups option C log network traffic, not API or resource modifications. OSI Monitoring option D tracks metrics like CPU and memory, but does not log changes or API ALs. Therefore, the audit service is the correct solution for comprehensive audit logs.